What's up, guys? My name is Ryan,
I'm Jared.
and we are Kairos Coffee Chats.
This podcast exists as a safe space for you to bring your questions and rethink faith so that you can encounter Jesus personally.
And so, without further ado, welcome to our first episode of KCC. Woo woo! I don't know why I did that,
Number
but
one. It's the first episode, Jitters. That's all it is. It's all good, bro.
we're going with it. We're going with it. Before we get into it, we figured that we would introduce ourselves to you guys before anything. So this podcast is going to be just that, and we'll tell you a little bit about why we're starting this podcast to begin with. We have these drinks from 85 Degrees. Shout out to 85 Degrees. I love
Okay.
85. What do we got,
bomb.
Jared?
So we got the strawberry mango smoothies. I got mine with boba in it. I know it's called Kairos Coffee Chats, but it's kind of the evening. We don't need no coffee right now, so we're chilling.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get one, but I saw the photo of it, and I was like, I need one. There's no boba this time, but, you know.
Too good, man.
We figured that for all of our podcasts, we'd start with an icebreaker to keep it light and for us to get to know each other and for also the people, to also get to know the people that we interview. So,
You know, we're looking for that light Bible study vibe.
yeah. We'll tell you more about our stories, but we did meet through tennis. And so our icebreaker is, if you played any other sport than tennis, what would it be?
So interesting. Man, I'd say, so I've only played tennis outside of 1 year of soccer when I was younger. I only made one goal the whole season, and it was in the last game, and we won by one. So I was like, that's it. Call it a career. But outside of that, I've always wondered how I do at a team sport. And being 6'4", probably basketball. It's just in the cards. Everyone's already asking me anyway.
You kind of look like a basketball player.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't hate it.
You got the hype for it.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like a pro basketball player at one point.
I feel like most people do though.
Yeah.
Like basketball
Growing
is
up.
just that one where it's just like, it's dope. Like, why not? Who doesn't want to be a basketball
It
player?
feels cool, and it like playing it, and it looks cool.
Not getting concussions like football or nothing. You know.
That's true. That is true.
What about you?
I would say, other than tennis, for me, it would be martial arts, and I'm basing that off of Avatar and all the different martial arts styles that Avatar is based off of. I would pick the airbending style. I think it's called Bagua. You can fact check me on that. but
Bagua.
It just, you're attacking and evading at the same time. And it's similar to Wing Chun, which is the fighting style of Bruce Lee's master.
His master?
His
I thought
master.
he made it. Oh, okay.
Bruce Lee made
Okay.
Jeet Kune Do.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he based it off of Ip Man, his master. Yeah.
Oh. I gotta watch those movies actually. I'll see the first one.
Ip Man is so
I
good.
gotta watch that.
There's
again
4
more.
now.
Ooh,
But-
I got homework.
Yeah, we wanted to tell you a little bit more about why we're doing this also. And so the big question we're going to answer today is, why Christianity? Of all the worldviews out there, why are we making a podcast about Christianity? We have both a macro level reason as to why, and then a personal reason why we're starting this podcast. But yeah, Jared, why Christianity at the macro level, would you say?
Man, I mean, well, we did both of us did grow up in Christian homes. A lot of people might say just because of our geographic location, we're just predisposed to Christianity and whatnot. And while we do have different evidences, both personal, as we'll get into, and other kind of evidences for reasons to believe in Christianity, it's just where we've landed, where we've seen, how we've seen Jesus move. And through that process and getting to know him, we see so many people struggle where we have struggled, and just in general with relating faith to the culture we live in, how we see so many hypocritical Christians who claim so many good things for Christ and do the complete opposite. There's just all these kind of intersections that we find people get hung up on, and even leaving the faith for.
Yep.
So it really pains me because it's hard, because it is very sad to see when I can attest to what Jesus has done in my life, and I've seen in so many others. And then when people portray him terribly, and it turns other people off of him, they don't get a chance to experience that.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel that. I think the esteemed Dr. Frank Turek, he's a Christian apologist and professor. Apologists they're not people who say sorry a lot. They are people who make a defense for or a reason for our faith. The study that he is an expert in is called Christian apologetics, which is the study of giving a defense for Christianity. And so one of his big quotes is, if someone plays Beethoven wrong, you don't blame Beethoven, you blame the player. The reason why I like this analogy a lot is because I feel like, especially here in the Western church today, in the American church, I would say this is happening across all churches across the entire world, just because we're human.
Wherever people are.
But we definitely see it more in the Western church, and it's more exacerbated, I think, on social media. We see all these pastors with who are just, something comes up in their personal life that is horrific, and it is sad, and like there's so many stories of just Christian leaders that I can think of who, you know, have cheated on their wives or have mismanaged finances also, who have treated people in different communities or people groups poorly. And so Christians have given Christianity a bad rap, which is unfortunate because that is not what Jesus taught us.
And just out the gate, like those are the people Jesus himself talked the harshest to.
Yes.
People claiming to be close to him and misrepresenting him completely. So first off, if you get anything, Jesus agrees with you. Like he's just as turned off by those people as you are.
Yeah. When it comes to pride and hypocrisy, he is the harshest towards those kinds of people. And typically they were hyper religious people who thought they knew what it took to follow God and to live God's way. But instead they ended up being a barrier for people to experience Jesus.
Yes.
And so we want to help others rethink their current understanding of Christianity. Now, if you have experienced Christianity in a way that does represent Jesus well, that's awesome.
Yes.
And we are
life-giving.
Yeah, that is amazing, and we want to celebrate that. I do think for the majority of friends and family that we know, they have had very poor experiences and very traumatic experiences with Christianity. And so we want to help others see the true Jesus in that sense. So
yeah. And another thing why we wanted to start this was we aren't experts at all.
Yes.
He is in seminary, but we're not experts. But I think that was kind of the point. We're people trying to look for truth. We have the same daily struggles. We are wrestling and questioning and doubting and just yearning earnestly to know what is true. And we want to invite people into that journey. Like, you don't have to have your doctorate in theology.
No.
Or have spent all this time reading all the books in the world. Like, you don't have to. I do like that stuff. We like reading books and we talk about it all the time. But, like, if you just want to know truth, like, that's enough. Jesus will meet you right there. So we want to, like, invite you into that.
Yeah. Jesus asks a lot of questions in the Gospels. Very rarely does he give straight answers. And
Almost never.
Yeah, almost never.
It's either another question or a parable.
Yeah.
Something to make you think.
And coming from the man who is supposedly all-knowing, why does he ask so many questions? Which we will explore throughout these episodes.
Yeah.
We want to be able to create an environment where you feel safe to ask these questions and to wrestle with these questions. Because as Christians, we often live in the tension between different truths. There are no black and white answers. There are some black and white ideas, but when it comes to answers and how it plays out in the real world, in our actual lives, there are very little black and white answers. And so we want to be able to just talk about those nuances and those gray areas, but in a way that is life-giving and also ruthlessly biblical in a way that actually does sound like good news to you, because that's the gospel. It's good news. We're going to do our best to convey those ideas, these thoughts, these questions that we wrestle with, questions about where we came from, and questions about what defines good and evil, questions about what gives us life meaning, and what happens to us after we die. Those big questions.
Yeah. What makes Christianity better than other religions? Why do we have to follow these set of rules? Why can't we just be good people? Like, there's questions on questions on questions. Like, we're here to wrestle with them and chew on them for a long time, and it'll take time. We got to be patient. It's a process.
Okay.
It's a process. Like, this is what it's for.
Yeah, and we want to dialogue with people who don't have the same worldview as we do, and we want to learn from each other. And hopefully, as we do that, we can all experience Jesus in the way that He wants us to experience Him.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's the goal.
And speaking of experiencing Jesus.
Speaking of experiencing Jesus, we also believe that not only is Christianity and the Bible still relevant today at the macro level, we believe that it has the power to change our lives at a personal level too. Because we could have all these discussions about why Christianity is, compelling or powerful in the first place, or why it's true. But at the end of the day, we want it to also have an impact on your personal life also, just as Jesus impacted our lives personally too. Our next question for each other is, Jared, how has Christianity changed you personally? Why is it still relevant to you?
Man, it's that is the question to start with. That's the question that matters. Like I said earlier, I grew up in a Christian home, but didn't have my own faith. It was just that thing you did on Sundays, all that fun stuff. And when I was around 12, 13 years old, started, hitting puberty, all that stuff.
All that fun stuff.
Got
all the teenage angst.
All the teenage
Here
angst.
we go.
Here we go.
Buckle up.
All that stuff. We're just you just flooded with hormones. You don't know what to do. You want to do everything.
Start exploring things.
Think you're right all the time. Parents don't know squat.
We're gonna get vulnerable on this podcast. No shame.
Man, gotta keep it a buck, man. Gotta keep it a buck. But I started having all these questions and just like, why can't I look away from this woman all of a sudden? Why does she look so good? And it was funny because growing up in my house, it was something that never came up. When it came to relationships, sex, those kind of things, it was just like the stereotypical, don't have sex before you're married.
Purity culture.
That was it. It was like, okay, I'm going to need something more than that. That doesn't suffice. Like, why? What am I supposed to do instead? Like, what do I do? I can't just, if it's just a bunch of what not to do, what do I fill that with? It's just going to stay a vacuum.
Yeah.
So that vacuum was then filled by just like any other teenager in the 21st century with the internet. And I just started, Googling questions that I would have. And it wasn't too long until I stumbled upon pornography and started watching that because, why not? Stuff's dope. After a little while, through middle school, beginning of high school, I started getting this like niggling in the back of my mind. It was just like, I feel like this isn't right. So again, Googled it, and I was like, is watching porn a sin? And good old Yahoo Answers came up.
Good old Yahoo. I was a Firefox guy.
Firefox, okay. But Yahoo Answers came up and was like, yeah, according to the biblical traditions, like falls under lust and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I better stop doing this. Was not that simple. I was hooked. And when I say I was hooked, I mean I was hooked, bro. It became apparent when I tried to stop, if I'm honest. It was like I could no longer control my thoughts or what I wanted to think about because there was only one thing my body wanted. I wanted to look at, wanted to do, wanted to think about all the time. And don't get it twisted. I was still functional. I still go to school. I still had fine grades. Still had I was lucky to grow up in an intact family and was like with my brother, my parents. We would hang out and do stuff, all that things. But it was just, I became good at putting on a mask. The inner brokenness that was there from not being able to control my mind, it made me angry for so long. And that did start spilling out because being with my dad, he coaches me as I play tennis. And I would be with him all the time. So I just go out on court angry. And he's like, why are you angry? And we're kind of the same person, so that already sparks fires. But that just, not even 20 minutes into practice, we've thrown stuff at each other. He's hurled me to the ground. We've gotten into actual fights. Like, it's just how it was. But that was that was the undertone to it. It had nothing to do with tennis. It had nothing to do with him. It was just, why can't I control my thoughts? And after a while that I was like, all right, well, I guess instead of feeling angry, I better just not feel anything. So I just kind of shut down emotion. And if it didn't feel good, then it was bad. So I just avoided it. And I just put on this mask with my friends and with my family that I was okay, but I just felt hollowed out. I just felt completely hollow. The only times I would kind of feel something would when I would go watch porn. So that was a 2 to 3 times a day kind of thing. Like, so often. Like, I couldn't wait to get off court, couldn't wait to get home from school. That's all I did. And I knew how to hide my tracks, so nobody knew. I just spent a little extra time in the bathroom, that kind of stuff. Nobody knew what was up. Years go by. I want to say sophomore, junior year of high school. One day, just finished watching some stuff, and I just start breakdown crying. I can't take it anymore. I'm upstairs in my house, just on the floor in my room. Nobody's home, just crying my eyes out. And in that moment, it's probably the only time I've ever had like a vision or like, I guess a vision is how Christians put it.
A spiritual experience.
One of those, yeah. I've had multiple spiritual experiences, but like seeing something, like I was on the floor, eyes closed, and in my head, I saw me and like just darkness around me, but you could still see me. It's like I was illuminated, but there was nothing around me. And then suddenly, Jesus kind of coddled me on the floor and like hugged me.
Wow. That's
and I just
crazy.
saw that. It's like when everything else went away, he was still there. Wow. When I wasn't even trying to look for him, he was there.
Wow.
I had that, and I leaned up. I like pushed up from the floor. I was like, all right, I'll give you a shot. Like I'll do it your way. I've heard about this Jesus guy since I was little. Parents seem to trust him, but it's like I never really wanted anything to do with him. All right, I've done all I can. It's not working. I'm desperate to try anything else. It wasn't out of the goodness of my heart that I went for Jesus. I needed something from him, and he seemed to have it. So in this time, this is when I started learning about had a crash course in what Romans 7 talks about, the evil which I don't want to do, I do. The good I want to do, I don't do. Wretched man that I am. I had a crash course in that. It was just up and down. I'd be good for a week, spill back in for 3 days. It was just this up and down. But I just wanted what God had for me, and I knew conducting myself. That's what I knew. I knew how to conduct. I knew what He told me to do, and it was certain things to not do and certain things to do. I didn't love it. Prayer was a chore to me. Like praying for 3 minutes seemed like an eternity. Reading my Bible, don't even ask me to. Like I can't pronounce half the names in there. I can get through a couple books and I forget all the rest of them. There's like 66 or something, I think. But it wasn't anything. It was like, okay, can we get to the part where I'm over this now? Like, can you just like take this from me? Year and a half, 2 go by. I want to say it was March of 2015. Church I was at, they started this website called Gospel Central. It was a website and an app, and it was an online video testimony for people to share the gospel with. It was really cool. Like some famous football players, like Drew Brees and a couple other ones had their testimony on there, and it was anybody could do it. And I felt called, like God put it on my heart, like to make one. And I was like, that makes no sense. I'm still struggling with this. Why would I tell other people how to get out of it if I have no idea how to do it? And I wrestled with that for like a month or so, because it was March going into April. And I was like, God, like one of the times I was actually praying, I was like, God, this don't make no sense. I don't get it. All I heard was do it and you'll see. And I was like, all right. I said, I'd do it your way. I'm going to do it your way. Okay. So I go, take my laptop, record this quick 10-minute video of like how I beat lust, watching porn, all that stuff. through God. Of course, it wasn't through my own merit. And I go to a Starbucks to upload it. So go there, upload the video, pack my stuff up. I kid you not. I walk through the threshold of the door to the Starbucks. As soon as I walk through there, every part of me that wanted to go home, get my laptop, watch porn, disappeared in an instant.
Wow.
And not only that, it was replaced by this sense of joy that filled me from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head so much I couldn't contain it. As I was riding home, I looked like a crackhead. I looked just happy.
You were just smiling.
I was just smiling. I looked like I was on an acid trip, bro.
The frolic down the street.
I was riding my bike just like, life ain't bad, you know? It's pretty good. It's pretty good out here, you know? It's very nice. But
that's awesome.
It was
wow.
It was such a dramatic experience. It was nothing I did. And I used to think maybe this has been years since then. This was 2015. I used to think for a couple years after that maybe it was power of life and death in the tongue. I needed to speak what I needed. Now I realize it wasn't anything I did. I just obeyed. Like Jesus, God says that, or I'm sorry, Bible says that God delights more in obedience than sacrifice. He just wants us to follow him and trust and obey. I think about this book, this story from Kings. It's from a Gentile named Naaman. He's got leprosy.
Who is a Gentile, by the way?
So a Gentile is just a non-Jew. My bad. A Gentile is just a non-Jew. But I wanted to say this is 2 Kings, prophet Elisha. He's Naaman, prominent figure, rich. He's got money, got slaves, got property, all that. But he's got leprosy. And in those times, that's just like you are outside of society. Sends a letter to Elisha to have him come and heal him because he hears of all of these miracles that he's doing. God tells Elisha, tell Naaman to just go dunk in the Jordan 7 times and then he'll be good. You'd think like, oh, cool. Let's go. Let's do that. Naaman gets mad. Naaman's like upset at that. He's like ready to pay. He's ready to do all that he can, but he doesn't have to.
And take the easy way out? Is that what I'm hearing? Or
he doesn't think it's that easy.
Oh,
it's got to be tougher, right?
Oh, I see.
It's got to be. Okay. He's got to do something. Yeah. It's like God comes halfway, you go the other half. Or God's like, no, I've already taken care of it. Just instruct. Just follow the instructions. It was too simple, and he couldn't get it. But luckily, he does end up doing it. Goes, dunks in, clean. It was nothing he did. He just obeyed the instructions. It was nothing I did. I just obeyed the instructions. And from that point, I had that joy. I started, the things I loved to do, I hate now. And the things I hated and couldn't do, I absolutely love doing. Give you an example, like, okay, obviously, I don't watch porn anymore. Been clean for a few years now. I can't.
That's awesome.
Dude, you're telling me, man.
Porn is a huge.
They've actually done studies on it.
Slave master.
They've actually done studies on it. It can be worse than overcoming a drug addiction. Yeah. Because drugs eventually leave your system. Images never leave your mind, really.
Yeah. And there are studies that it actually forms your brain and changes your whole prefrontal cortex.
Physical imprint on your brain. Yeah. It's so much retraining, all of that. And I no longer want to do it anymore. I don't want to. Like, part of me wants to, but most of me, I just want to obey the Father. Like, I want to do that so much more. I want to get in my Bible. I want to pray. I want to surround myself with people who also want the same things. Like, I am a lot more selective with who I hang around, who influences me. Not like I don't have friends that aren't Christian. Right. But I do have a lot of friends that are Christian.
Sure, yeah. I feel that.
And it's just that kind of transformation. I've met the living God. He came to me in my distress. Not because I cleaned myself up and was good enough to meet him, but because he knew I wasn't good enough to meet him, so he came to me.
He pursued you.
He pursued me and convinced me that he has a better way. And he has fully convinced me of that to this day.
That's incredible.
It really is.
Thank you for sharing that.
Man, if everyone could experience what I have, that's my prayer. That is my prayer, that everyone can experience what I've been through.
That freedom.
The good part. The good part. Not the other bull crap. No.
Mm-hmm. As you'll often hear from us in this podcast, being a Christian is not easy. It's not just everything gets taken away in a moment. Because even when God does, we will still be challenged. And we will still encounter hard things in this life. But God gives us that boat to be able to sail through the storms no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we throw it around so haphazardly, but take up your cross is not a light thing. If you've seen the crosses that people get crucified on, how heavy were they? I forget how heavy they were, but they're 2 trees put together. They are heavy.
I remember seeing a Instagram reel of someone trying to lift as much as a cross would weigh, and it's not easy.
I saw that one.
Oh, you saw that one?
It was a dude. He had a dumbbell or a barbell with the weight equivalent, and he's trying to go the 1.5 miles or whatever Jesus had to walk with his cross. And it's so, and bro was jacked. Bro was like fit.
He was actually like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, he was fit. He wasn't like just some Joe Schmo. He was actually working out, and it's a task and a half. Mm-hmm. Not to mention after you've been whipped 49 times and beat and spat on and haven't slept that night either. Just a little bit. Just, he ain't slept.
Nope.
Even crying blood instead of sleeping.
He did not that night. No, he did not.
Yeah, man, it's tough, but it's worth it at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I wholeheartedly believe it's worth it, man.
That's what it sounds like. That's awesome that you experienced that healing, that freedom.
Oh man.
So, but yeah, and I know I've gotten to like experience this journey with you of your transformation, and it's been like a process, and it's been cool to seeing like
for both of us
indeed, and seeing like where God has taken you and where how your old ways, your old self has like continually just been renewed, like almost every year that I've known you. It's been like 7 or 8 years for us now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah. And we'll talk more about that.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Throughout these podcasts and whatnot. So, but yeah.
Man, how's it changed you? What has Jesus done in your life?
What has he done for me? Absolutely nothing. No, I'm absolutely kidding.
What is he good for? No, he's good for everything. He's good for everything.
Everything.
Praise the Lord.
He changed everything in my life. I grew up also in a Christian home, but for me, being a Christian was just something you checked off the box on all those demographic forms. Wasn't anything transformative, wasn't anything different about me. It was just, oh, that's what my family does. We go to church on Sundays. My dad was part of the worship team. My mom would serve in the kids ministry, and then the rest of our week would be the same. Maybe like read our Bible here and there. Not too much. We'd pray at dinner. That was like the extent of our Christian life, at least my Christian life. And I think for me, everything started coming down when my parents got divorced my senior year of high school. And I know that there's a lot of divorced families out there. My wife, she works with kids, and so many of these kids, they have broken families. It's probably more prevalent today, but it's been prevalent like always. We live in a broken world, and there are broken people who get married and have broken relationships with each other and have broken families. And not saying that my family was, broken. We still had an amazing time as a family, but I just remember like I knew family could be better. I knew it could be better. And when my mom filed for separation, that's when things changed. And I remember being angry at God, sitting in the middle of my driveway and just screaming at him, like in anger. I was like, what's the point in being a Christian? What's the point in following you, God, in following you, Jesus, whoever it was at that point, if my Christian parents, since even though we value marriage so much, my Christian parents didn't exemplify that in their own marriage or in their own lives. So that was a turning point for me. Yeah, it affected me in more ways than one. I didn't realize it until like way later how it affected me, but I just remember being self-righteous as a kid. For me, being a Christian allowed me and gave me permission to feel better than other people because I wasn't doing all these things. I was the goody two shoes kind of Christian. If you
The Bible thumper.
Bible thumper, even though I didn't even know the Bible that well, but I was just
Ooh, that's a dangerous combo.
I was the self-righteous, religious, hyper-religious person that I talked about earlier, and even though I didn't even know much about it, yeah, I lost friends being self-righteous, and going into college was a turning point for me. It was the point in my life when I had to ask myself, do I still follow you, Jesus? Do I still follow what I've been raised my whole life? Is it worth it? And I think ultimately God knew what I needed, even though I didn't know what I needed back then. I think what I ultimately wanted was a place to belong, a place that felt like home, a place where I felt loved, and a place of community, people that loved me for who I was and pursued me and were intentional with me, like wanting to mentor me and like walk alongside me in every aspect of my life. Like just someone in my corner, like boxing ring kind of coach, like someone just like always in my corner. I wanted that so badly. And I didn't even know I wanted that. I wanted to experience family differently than how I experienced it growing up. And I did go to this Christian organization at UCSD called InterVarsity, and they love freshmen, and so they have all these freshman events. They have all these free food events, and that's how you get college kids. It's like you invite them with free food, free pizza, Costco pizza.
It ain't tuna. It ain't cans of tuna and ramen. Let's go.
There were instances where we had like, that kind of food too. So, but it wasn't just Costco pizza. But
whatever, they didn't pay for it.
Yeah, tacos were a big one that got me. But I just remember the people in InterVarsity that I surrounded myself with. Somehow, my experience of being with those friends felt like family. It felt like what family was supposed to be like. And I experienced a new family through InterVarsity. And then later on, I got two other similar like friend groups or families throughout my time in college. Another on my club tennis team, and then another at my home church. So God blessed me with three different family groups that weren't my blood family. And I was like, this is what life can look like. This is like the family of God. This is the kingdom of God that is available to all people, because he never created us to be alone. He never created us to live on an island. He never created us to just tough things out alone. He created us for community. He himself is three beings in one.
The perfect community.
The perfect community. He is community incarnate. He's never alone. And so when he creates us in his image, that is why we are also meant to be in community with one another, loving each other, forgiving one another, confessing sin and areas of brokenness to each other, so that we can all experience the transformative healing power of Jesus. He provided me those three families, and slowly but surely he called me to also tell everyone else that you can have this too. You can have this joy, you can have this community, you can have this love and this acceptance and belonging with others, and you can grow. You can actually grow. The life you live will be defined by how well you love others. And that is a powerful, powerful thing, because when we leave this earth, we ain't taking anything with us.
No.
If someone were to speak at my funeral, I want them to talk about how the legacy I leave is not my achievements. It's not what I did, but it's how well I love people. Because Jesus has saved me and transformed me and has provided me with this sense of community and family, I want to help others experience that too. And so that's why I love Jesus so much. Like he is he has changed my life, truly. And so, and he's opened up the possibilities of my own life because of this. Like the freedom and joy that I feel and the purpose that he gives me with my talents, like anything is possible. Healing is possible. And I've seen it in the lives of those around me too. It's not just my own personal life. I've seen it in your life. I've seen it in the lives of my wife, and just my close friends. I've seen transformation in real time, and that's possible through Jesus.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
and that is why I am a Christian. And that is why we are both on this podcast together, so that you can have a taste of what this might look like for you.
Jesus wants to meet you right where you're at, just like he did for us. He knew the needs
Amen.
that we didn't even know how to utter. I was broke down crying on the floor. He was yelling at God in the driveway. We didn't know what we needed, but God sent his son for us to meet our needs, to meet that yearning for love that we desperately needed. He filled that and continues to every single day. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, it's not. No,
It
it's
is
not.
the toughest thing in the world, if I'm being completely honest. There are days where I just don't know what to do. Or there's days where I have so many questions, have so many doubts, have so many things where I want to just know the answer to, or just for God to be clear on all these things. It's just I just got to go back to how I first encountered him. Just obedience and trusting in him. Not blind obedience. Not blind. We don't want to get it twisted.
That's totally different.
That's totally different. We don't believe in blind obedience. These are the Christians saying that, just a heads up. We don't believe in blind obedience. We got evidence. We just told you about our experiences. That gives us the faith that we have. We know he's done it, so he can do it again. So I'll trust this first step that he's given us. And we want everybody we can, let the whole world know you can experience that too, man.
It is possible.
It is
All
possible.
things are possible through Christ. So I want to end with this. John 10:10, Jesus is talking to his disciples. He's speaking in what's called a parable. And parables are like analogies. They're stories that Jesus often uses to describe himself, his character, or the kingdom that he came to usher in. John 10:10, he says, "The thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I have come so that they may have life and have it abundantly." When we put our trust in Christ, when we put our faith in him, and we obey what he has to say for our lives, it's not to restrict us. It's not to restrain us or prevent us from enjoying life, or to change our behavior necessarily. He wants to change our hearts. He wants to change our minds and our souls. And he wants us to have a life that is abundant. That life it does not look like anything that we can ever come up with. God is too big for that. He's way too big for that. And I'll also end with this one quote from C.S. Lewis too. He says, "If I find in myself a desire in which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world."
Whew.
That's
So
a mic
good.
drop moment right there.
That's so good. Drink my boba.
We were made to live life with Jesus. We truly believe that. And he won't let you down. If you put your faith in him, he will not let you down. That's what we believe.
No, he won't. He loves you too much.
Amen to that. Thank you guys for joining us on our first episode of KCC. We hope you enjoyed it. And
See y'all next time.
we'll see you soon. Peace.